We welcome you to hour number 2 live right here on this Friday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. DRS, it is a month of football, and today you can consider this second hour a football Friday because over the weekend we're going to get some football as well. The LA Chargers, one of our two teams playing in Canton, Ohio, at the Hall of Fame game on the final day of this month of July, July 31st. They will take on the Detroit Lions. The Bolts send their rookies to training camp on a Saturday afternoon in LA. The Chargers rookies will report to training camp tomorrow. The veterans will join on Wednesday. By the time we get to next weekend, the Lions rookies and vets will be into camp as well. And the Wednesday after that, everybody, all 32 clubs around the National Football League will be at training camp. The Bolts in the news for a few reasons as we enter this weekend, not just the rookies showing up to training camp on a Saturday afternoon, but as we talked about earlier in our opening hour, Najee Harris, offseason acquisition, added to that running back room for Los Angeles, injured in a 4th of July fireworks accident, a superficial eye injury, meaning on the outside to the skin, whatever that might be. Maybe he's wearing an eye patch as we speak, but his agent does say, no doubt about it, Najee Harris will be 100% ready for the start of the NFL season. But a new club, a new team, supposed to report to training camp on Wednesday, DRS. Not exactly the news that you are looking for at a Najee Harris. And frankly, stop messing around with fireworks. They're not that fun to light off yourself. Just watch the displays and be happy.
Nah, they are fun to light off, but again, it's more fun when somebody else lights them off for you and
for sure,
blew up in your hand. I mean, you don't want to do that to your buddy if it happens, but we always see those casualties year in, year out. But if you're a professional athlete, you're right. There's stuff in your contract that says you can't do this. I'm pretty sure using fireworks is one of those, like riding a motorcycle and jumping out of planes or doing stupid things like riding dirt bikes and stuff like that. Just stay away from it. And by the way, like camp coming up, and like sometimes like we're in the start of it. And I remember like I've been to a million camps in my life through high school and college. The worst ones, like I showed up like freshman year camp, like in high school. It's terrible. Like you're like 14 years old. There's grown men. Yeah. It's like, hey, we're all going to run laps, and the seniors pick off the freshmen and lay them out. And it's like, hey, it's a rite of passage, and you just have to deal with it. And the same thing at college. College might have been a little bit worse as a freshman because like you're with your friends in high school, like, your 35-man freshman team. It's like, hey, your buddies, you stick it out, and you have freshman football and there's camaraderie and stuff. I got dropped off at 19. I was 18 years old at the time. Yeah, dropped off for college where there's 110 kids there. I know nobody. I don't know the coaching staff. I don't know where I'm going. And I remember like the first day of camp, 80 degrees, 85 degrees, 90 at like 7 a.m. And I remember looking off like, I hate this place. What am I even doing here? But you stick it out and it works out in your favor. But for anybody that's like, I can't wait to go. Nobody's ever said they can't wait. Like camp is the worst thing in the world. In sports, you have basketball camp, you can have fun. Golf camp, baseball camp, if that's even a thing in high school or college. But football camp is the single worst thing that God ever created for mankind in sports. It really is.
Football camp is always hot, regardless of where you are in the country. You're in pads. You're wearing a helmet at bare minimum. It is always hot. There is a physicality to it. DRS veterans will tell you around the NFL, like, we don't need to do training camp anymore. We hate training camp. I feel like half the holdouts we see from veterans asking for a new payday are less to do about the finances and more to do about, like, I'll take an extra 2 weeks of vacation and not have to be out there popping pads against guys that are trying to hunt me down.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney style. Like, don't sign me till a day before the season. Like, he's got it right. But, like, I always have issues, like, with my toes, Ben, where, like, after the first 2 or 3 days, they all have to be razor bladed from the blisters and rewrapped. So I always had an issue with that. But you'll like this. Like, this is, Like, this is the way how I operate, right? Like, camp is hot, and as a wide receiver, it's different. Like, I used to end the offensive linemen. Like, they was hut, hike, and they'd get in their stance, and I'd have to run 5 miles every single route, back to the huddle, back and forth. It was terrible. But we used to have one-on-ones, right? So you say, okay, well, and everybody wants to run the deep route. Like, let me impress the coaching staff. Well, I would get out on the football field, and I would run like 3-yard outs, and they would yell at me because I'm trying to conserve energy. Like, hey, Doc, like, they're running slants, deep outs, post patterns, flag patterns, and I'm the number one wide out, and I'm running nothing but 3-yard outs. Like, that's me getting a kick out of it. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing out here? Like, smoke that corner. Like, I'm just setting them up for later. You know what I mean? 3-yard outs. Beautiful. What a time.
You might not know Donnie Rightside nearly as well as most of us do here at the SportsGrid Network. But if you needed a story to define DRS, that is that right there. What he would do during his college football playing days at New Jersey powerhouse William Patterson, running 3-yard outs on one-on-ones. DRS, I also did not expect to hear anything about your toes on this Friday edition. So let's change our tune to the LA.
Telling you, man. You
can't
got to get a better
fit.
You got to get your shoes to fit. You got to wear like double socks. No, I did it all, and it didn't matter. Like, the razor blades were coming out day number 3, and you lived with it.
What do you mean razor blades? Like, you would scrape off blisters?
No, each and every one of my toes would blister on both feet. So the trainers would take a razor blade and cut the blisters and then wrap your toes. And in 2 or 3 days, you were fine. But it was like a ritual every single year, no matter what I did, because the amount of running you do as a wide receiver, you can't like, hey, run around. I do run routes in the summer. I work out, but you can't simulate once you get to camp. And every single year, it was awful. But after those first 3 days, it sort of felt better and better, and you didn't have them anymore.
Does it hurt to have a razor blade taken to a blister?
No, it actually felt good. No, it actually felt good. Like, the pressure was relieved. Like, it's because the next day when they're wrapped, it's very uncomfortable. But after that, the calluses build. You don't get them anymore. But it's one of the worst things. No matter what, like, we got to get you better shoes. Had nothing to do with the shoes. I don't know what it was.
All right. Well, this conversation is taking a turn. Let's go back to the LA Chargers. Yeah. It is camp. It is in that theme. The LA Chargers, though young stars, will show up to camp tomorrow for the Rooks. DRS, throughout this week, we did our NFL playoff profiles. The Bolts were the top wild card team, the 5 seed in the AFC playoff picture, and Jim Harbaugh's first year in Los Angeles. That guy is a winner. You can talk about him whatever way you would like, but every level he has coached this sport. FCS level for the San Diego Toros. FBS level reigniting the dormant power at Palo Alto for the Stanford Cardinal. At his alma mater in Michigan, with a stop in the NFL, taking the San Francisco 49ers to the NFC Championship game either in his first or second year. This guy wins and wins right away. So if you take the success of last season, you are hoping for bigger and better in 2025. What is that realistic ceiling for the Chargers this upcoming NFL campaign?
AFC Championship. I'm being honest. AFC Championship, which I don't know if they win that, but they get to the AFC Championship. That has to be the expectations, because the next step for Harbaugh is like, okay, I found my team, competitive last year. Let's see if we can now win a playoff game. But that doesn't stop there. It's like, hey, let's win a wild card round. Yeah. Like, you want to go multiple rounds in. Does it mean the Super Bowl? Probably not. Do I think they're the most talented team? No, I don't. But that offensive line and that philosophy that they have, if they can just stick it out at the wide receiver position, they're going to be fine, because the defense will be okay. The offense is going to run there. I just need Herbert to be that elite quarterback that we've all been expecting. Last year, you saw the numbers, protected the football, but I need a little bit more of a gunslinger mentality. And whether or not Harbaugh lets him do that is one thing or another. But the expectations for me aren't, hey, let's just get double-digit wins and see what happens. No, the expectations for Harbaugh and that team should be AFC Championship, game or bust.
No doubt about it, DRS. Justin Herbert in his 5th NFL season under a new offensive system under the tutelage of Greg Roman, who, of course, had worked with both Harbaugh brothers, first with the 49ers, then in Baltimore with the Ravens. Establishing the run was the precedent. We'll talk what about that means now for 2025 for the Bolts on the other side of the break.
Cooper flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. We're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California. If you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. Like I might be the new coach in Montreal in 2 weeks. Like they have a new coach all the time, and they always have, oh yeah, we're playing a new system. And they have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. It's a real disaster. But they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
The LA Chargers entering 2025. They send their rooks to camp tomorrow. The veterans led by Justin Herbert on Wednesday. One of the two teams that will face off in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame game at the end of this month. 3 weeks from yesterday, right? Yeah. How about that? Just a reminder of the timeline that we are in. DRS, you mentioned something about Justin Herbert right before the break. Justin Herbert last year, incredibly efficient. And we were told by both Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman in their first year in Los Angeles, we're taking the onus off of this guy. He has had to do far too much in his first 4 years in the National Football League in this organization. Justin Herbert, in his first 3 years in the NFL, that he was fully healthy, threw for more than 4,300 yards every year, more than 5,000 in 2021. In his second season, 14,089 passing yards, DRS, through his first 3 NFL campaigns. That's the most for any quarterback in their first 3 years in NFL history. Then he was a little bit banged up in 2023. Brandon Staley got fired. Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman come in, and they say, listen, we are running the football. We have built up this offensive line. We are going to take it off the right arm of Justin Herbert. They let him open it up a little bit at the end of last year, and then a porous performance in that wild card game against the Texans. 4 INTs in H-Town, more in a single game than the 3 that he threw in the 17 regular season games he played for LA the entirety of the regular season. There are some questions about LA come the postseason, but Donnie, you are not incorrect. That next step for the Chargers is maybe unseating the Chiefs atop the AFC West, and even as a wild card team, winning a playoff game and making that deep postseason run.
Yeah, exactly. And what could be holding them back? Because you do have the horrible offense, right? We talked about that nasty offensive line, quarterback there that should be able to excel, and what we expect to be a really, really good running game, which should open up the passing game. But having said that, Ladd McConkey is a really good wide receiver. He's unbelievable in the slot and looks like he might be that premier guy over the next 4 to 5 years, almost like a young version of Cooper Kupp when he was at the height of his powers there in the NFL. But we're underwhelming on the outside. We just are. And it's a shame that Quentin Johnston was such a whiff in round number 1 because he should be your prototype wide receiver. Get me downfield, get me open, let me make big catches so McConkey can work that underneath routes. But the guy can't catch. And then you bring back Mike Williams, who does have a lot of success in the NFL when he's healthy. But that's the big question mark. Like if you say it's 17 games, yeah, I'm going to get 8 out of Big Mike. And, oh, well, what happens at that point? I just wish they went out and actually solidified the outside wide receiver, like the other crosstown team they have in Los Angeles. If Devontae Adams showed up there on the Chargers, boy, I might even have a higher outlook saying you got the number one on the outside. You got the number one slot guy. That running game is going to work. Boy, let's see Harbaugh craft some magic here with Justin Herbert. That's just the big question mark, and that's a tough question mark to answer in the NFL when you don't have that true big-time wide receiver on the outside.
No doubt about it, DRS. It still feels like that missing piece because everything else has been rather taken care of. No Joey Bosa anymore, but when you look at what the Chargers did through the draft, I do appreciate how they went about it. Omarion Hampton, the very talented running back out of North Carolina, adds to that explosive running back room. No J.K. Dobbins. He is in Denver. Speaking of explosives, Najee Harris injured in a fireworks accident, but should be ready to go by the start of the year. Trey Harris, big-time wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Maybe not that prototypical number one, but I think a nice piece of that wide receiver room. Keandre Lambert-Smith later in day number 3 out of Penn State. And keep an eye on Kyle Kennard, a ferocious edge rusher from South Carolina. I like that look for L.A. as well, trying to replace some of that production of the veteran Joey Bosa, who was a part of the final draft class when the Chargers were in San Diego. Speaking of rookies, DRS, they report to camp, the first batch of them tomorrow in Los Angeles. You saw Omarion Hampton, the 22nd overall pick, a first-round selection by the Chargers this previous April. He has the 4th best price to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at 10-1. Who is the favorite? The first running back off the board, the 6th overall pick, the earliest we have seen a running back drafted since Saquon Barkley at 2nd overall in 2018, our reigning Heisman runner-up in Ashton Jeanty at plus 270. Cam Ward, that first overall pick at 3-1. Travis Hunter has a price that is both relatively short to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Jags, that 9-1 number. Let's focus first on the quarterback, DRS, that being Cam Ward for the Tennessee Titans. We talked about Justin Herbert winning the award in 2020. The year prior, it was Kyler Murray. 2 years ago, it was C.J. Stroud. Last year, it was Jaden Daniels. That means 4 quarterbacks winning this award in the last 6. That's not always a common occurrence for a QB to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Why? Because normally when you are a quarterback drafted early, you go to a bad team. You go to an organization in turmoil who has a win total like Cam Ward and the Titans do this year around 5.5, 6.5. Stroud and Daniels have changed that. They have been record setters for good football teams, playoff football teams the last 2 years. Not necessarily the expectations for Cam Ward in his debut season in Nashville.
Yeah, and it's hard for a rookie. It really is. But also, you do have to give a bump. Like, I think Ashton Jeanty is going to have a very good season. But as always, that starting quarterback with Cam Ward is, there's never a time during this season, unless he's just the worst bust you've ever seen, he's not going to play 17 games. And again, unless he gets hurt. Understand this, too. You're playing in a division where you might be able to win some of those football games because it's not very competitive with, let's just say, some of the bottom feeders in that division. Now, we'll see what Jacksonville does. We'll see what Houston does. You'll be able to compete with the Colts, I do believe. But also, where does a rookie gain respect? Like, Cam Ward isn't coming into the NFL as a 19-year-old or a young 20-year-old. Like, he played really good football at Miami, and he's been around the block, which means he knows adversity. Like, it wasn't like, hey, man, only thing I know is Miami. Was there 2 years. Now I'm a pro. Like, he's been around to, playing low-level Division I football with, no scholarship ability, playing bigger college football, and then ending in Miami where he was the best player last year in college football. But understand this for me. Calvin Ridley's a good veteran wide receiver. Tyler Lockett's a good veteran wide receiver. Like, he's going to have options to throw the football to. And that's why I'm excited for him, where it's like, sometimes we're, you talk about Bryce in Carolina. It's like, well, what is he supposed to do with this team? Like, no, you got some weapons for Cam Ward where he should be able to excel here. And I used to give the nod to a guy I know is going to have 17 games played, barring injury. So, hey, I think Cam Ward's going to have a pretty good year.
Me as well, DRS. 5.5 is that win total for the Titans. Will they put a fright into it? We'll discuss up next and talk some other rookies here on the early line.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Hit the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yep. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school then?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh,
that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
It'd be like 80 times. It'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Cam Ward enters his rookie season as the number one overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. DRS, I felt both on draft night with all the conversation around Shedeur Sanders and many others. Cam Ward, not quite the Trevor Lawrence or the Bryce Young even, or heck, Caleb Williams, that generational talent we knew was going to be the number one overall pick by the time they were playing their junior year of high school football. Quite the opposite. Started at Incarnate Word at the FCS level. Transferred to Washington State from Wazoo, spent his final season at Miami and had a Heisman caliber-esque season for the Canes. But very quickly in the draft process became that clear-cut number one overall pick. But because of that, maybe did not deserve the hype or did not get the hype that he deserved entering draft night. I think this guy is going to be successful in the NFL. My question is Brian Callahan's offense. I think if you asked even the most devout football fan or a couple of casual NFL fans, who's the head coach of the Titans? They'd say Mike Vrabel, and you'd have to correct them. It is Brian Callahan entering year number 2, former offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year, DRS dealt a pretty harsh hand of Will Levis and Mason Rudolph to run his offensive scheme, and I don't think anybody was more pissed about that than Brian Callahan, who every time Will Levis did something stupid, they would cut away to him on the sidelines. He'd be like, F my life, man. Get this guy off my football team. He has a chance to prove it with Cam Ward at the helm, but it's another interesting wrinkle for me. 5.5 to win total. What does success look like based on relative expectation? Because the guy that hired Brian Callahan as the head coach is no longer the GM. Rand Carthen not there. It's Mike Borgonzi entering his first year leading that front office.
Yeah, and that's tough. When you're not backed by, let's just say Ben Johnson. Let's use that as a name. Like if you inherit Ben Johnson after a year where things didn't go well, like, well, the guy's got a pedigree. Like I know he's one of the best play callers. And you hire a coach because the expectations are you think he could be your franchise head coach for the next decade. Otherwise, nobody would get hired in the NFL. But that's not your guy. So you come in and you pick your quarterback and things don't work out well. All right, well, I picked my quarterback, but this coach isn't the right one for me. And any sniff of, hey, Cam, what do you think about your coach? He's okay. All right, he's out the door. He's going. Let me bring in my guy. We're going to sort of set this stage for over the next couple of years. We are going to excel. That's what makes it tough. And you're right about it. Like Callahan came in like, okay, well, I knew to know his dad, but I don't know much about him, and it was bad. But you're right about it. It wasn't his fault last year. Like, and again, the funny cutaways, and that's how devastating can be, where it was simple like, hey, look, I'm going to send you out there. I just can't have you throw a pick six. Boom, pick six. Like, what kind of throw is that? What are we doing? Like, we can win this football game if you just don't implode, and it happens so many times. Now, he'll get a reset this year. And also, the expectations for the Titans for me, as it is with just about every rookie quarterback that comes into the NFL. I don't care what that record is. I don't care if they don't win a single game. If I see my quarterback out there making progressions, making his reads, excelling at his position for a rookie, and I say, okay, let's get to your sophomore season. What I can't see is redundancy, a bad outfit out there, which means the play calls don't seem to match up with the skill requirements of my quarterback. Then I have issues here. And all it takes is for Cam Ward just to say one thing in the press or behind the scenes. Hey, I'm really confused out here, and it's a wrap. And I'm not saying he can't be the head coach of the future, but that spotlight, as you pointed out, is much brighter because he wasn't picked by the current general manager, and that's always strike one, Ben.
It always is, DRS. And again, you often, especially when you have that number one overall pick, want to be in lockstep. The GM and the quarterback, the same regime, the head coach, certainly not. By the way, just so we know, 3,200.5 is that season-long passing yards prop for Cam Ward. Of our three quarterbacks that were rookies last year, of course, a much larger, robust rookie quarterback class than in 2025. We had Cam Ward first, Jackson Dart, as the Giants traded back in at the end of the opening round, are only two taken in round number one. Of the three quarterbacks that started double-digit games last year, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, all three of those guys throwing for more than 3,500 passing yards. All right, DRS, Ashton Jeanty is the favorite to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Again, if the Titans are decent, but 6-11, and Cam Ward is putting up okay numbers, he's probably not going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ashton Jeanty, who was a record setter last year, finishing Heisman runner-up at Boise State, certainly has the opportunity to make the splash, and the expectations quickly, DRS, in Chip Kelly's offense, sky high.
It should be sky high because why? There's no real competition for Jeanty, and you have a veteran presence, a decent offensive line, some outlets at wide receiver, and certainly one of the better young tight ends in football. He's going to get 15-plus opportunities every single game for 17 weeks. He should put up some good statistics out there in Vegas.
Really good numbers. We'll talk more about it up next here on TEL.
Against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flagg and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with a money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. Like I'm coach in Montreal in 2 weeks. Like they have a new coach all the time, and they always have, we're playing a new system. And they have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. It's a real disaster. But they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
A few more minutes on some rookies and their expectations entering 2025 in the NFL. Of course, former college stars. We'll talk some college football to end out this second hour and a Football Friday on the early line in this month of football that is July here on TEL. Quickly on Ashton Jeanty, DRS. You see the rushing yards prop north of 1,000 for his rookie campaign. Over under 7.5 rushing touchdowns. And the Raiders' win total is 7.5, albeit the under has the juice. DRS, like you, I think Pete Carroll brings some stability this year in Vegas. There is some talent on that offensive side of the football. And Geno Smith, we might have our questions about elevating the ceiling of a playoff team, but certainly consistently successful. And in Chip Kelly's scheme, I think Jeanty's going to do a ton. More of a bruiser last year for Boise State, but the year prior, also heavily involved as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Jeanty is going to put up huge numbers. It's why you draft a running back that early at 6th overall.
Yeah, and by the way, will he be able to use his stance that he used in college? Did he call it the Freddy Krueger stance? What did he call it? The Jason stance?
Yeah.
What was it? It was like a horror film stance there, which I don't think Chip Kelly likes it all that much. So we'll see if he just stands straight up back there. Michael Myers. There you go. A serial killer back there in the backfield. But the expectations for him are, if he gets the football, he's going to do really good things with it because he's a talented running back. We're not even going to question what he does with the football or, to be quite honest, question what he does when he doesn't get the football, because I think he's getting the football and getting it 15 plus times a game. So the expectations are high. The only, I guess you could say, hey, Donnie, is there a downfall? Well, the Raiders not closing out games where you get the extra 5 carries in the fourth quarter because you're winning by 7+ points. Maybe they're not doing that. But for me, I don't see any harness on him. Hey, well, let's save him for 4 years when we might actually be really good. He's going to get a lot of use next year, rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely so, DRS. Another rookie that could be in the running based on the stats. You see it in his odds expectation entering his rookie campaign in Charlotte. Offensive mind in Dave Canales, quarterback Bryce Young entering this year finally with some optimism. Tetairoa McMillan, the 8th overall pick out of Arizona, a big-time ball possession receiver, DRS, who put up outstanding numbers at Arizona. T-Mac, as he is known, an absolute stud. Tetairoa McMillan, a name to know this year, and you can see it, 850.5, his receiving yards prop for his rookie season.
Yeah, and who else you throwing to? Again, Xavier Legette, good young wide receiver. Yeah. Adam Thielen, that veteran in the room that'll play out of the slot. Tet's on the outside. And also, is this defense going to be good enough to get shut down on defense, which means if you're giving up 27, 28 points a game, the offense has to counter. And we're not having high expectations for Carolina, which once again means if you play on a bad football team with an under 500 record, you're not going to be running the clock out typically in the fourth quarter. You're going to try to maximize every minute here, even with a young quarterback down 14 with 3 minutes to go. That's extra yards for the young wide receiver. That's extra yards for the quarterback here. But the offensive line is decent. Dave Canales is a good background as an offensive coordinator, second year in that system for Bryce Young. Maybe this is a year that they can sort of excel, but McMillan should get a lot of targets this year. But it is really tough sometimes because in the past it used to be, hey, rookies don't even see the field even if they're number 1 draft picks because they can't understand the offense in the NFL. These guys are coming in much more polished with much more of a higher user rate. There's no reason to believe that McMillan can't step in and be a 75-plus catch guy in his rookie year.
Xavier Legette was a first-round pick in 2024. Tetairoa McMillan, now that 1st and 8th overall pick in 2025. You got to give Carolina credit in that front office trying to build around Bryce Young, who, of course, showed some flashes at the end of last season. 6 times DRS in the final 10 starts that he made when he returned as the starter in Carolina, throwing for more than 200 yards. I know that is not the highest threshold for a starting and franchise quarterback in the NFL. But 6 times in those final 10 starts, he only threw for 2 Bills plus 4 times in his first 18 starts in his NFL career. And there's a guy, of course, also down there in the Southeast in the National Football League, but in the AFC South, known as Travis Hunter, our 2nd overall pick. The Jags trading up from 5 to 2 to go and get the reigning Heisman winner. We showed you his price to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. It is pretty high. We show you his price as well to win Defensive Rookie of the Year in that number, DRS 10-1, tied for the 3rd best price. To win Offensive Rookie of the Year, 9-1, also 3rd best number. Travis Hunter, as we have been told by Liam Cohen James Gladstone, the new GM in Jacksonville, he is going to be used heavily on both sides of the football. I will still say this. You see 750.5 for his receiving yards number. Trevor Lawrence looking to add those weapons. Liam Cohen's first task is to reignite the career of T-Law entering year number 5. Where I think Travis Hunter is more elite, he is dangerously good on both sides. Where he is more elite is as a shutdown and lockdown corner. 2+ interceptions at a plus 125 price. Don't mind that number.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the game plan is going to be. Because as you said, they want to use them on both sides. But when we watch OTAs, it's only offensive route running that we're actually paying attention to here for Travis Hunter. So my thought process is sometimes when you hit the training camp, now we'll get the real information from the beat writers. You get to ask the questions and get to watch practice on a day-to-day basis. Hey, they're only using him in nickel situations right now, but he's a primary wide receiver. Or, boy, that was much more of a defensive day for Travis Hunter. Didn't really line up on offense all that much, because that matters in which way that you're going to bet it. Because understand this too. Travis Hunter isn't coming in as all right, finally, we have our savior wide receiver. Brian Thomas Jr. is a freak of nature, and he is the number one, regardless of how high or how talented Travis Hunter is. That's your guy. He showed those glimpses last year. So now you say, what's the evolution? Is yes, Brian Thomas Jr. will get helped out from Travis Hunter because more good wide receivers means you can't roll as much coverage. But the question is going to be is, what is the usage rate for Travis Hunter? Are we going to have different weeks and different styles where, okay, this week your primary focus is on offense. Oh, no, this week you're going up against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Need you more on defense here. That's what the worry is, where I think you're right about this. He's going to be in heavy passing situations as opposed to first down, second down if the teams are running the ball in short yardage. He's not going to be out there in 3rd and 1. He's going to be out there stopping the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. A 3rd and 11, he'll be the nickel corner coming in here. At minimum is what I'm talking about. So if you're saying to yourself, he plays, Ben, 25 snaps on defense. The thought process behind the defensive coordinator is all 5 or 25 of those snaps are probably passing downs. So whether or not he makes tackles or does this, he will be maximized on his efficiency to get interceptions, because that's when he's going to be playing defense, at least what we're expecting from the start of his NFL career.
Now, I would not bet that plus 450 price that you see on Travis Hunter to win either offensive or defensive rookie of the year. It's a pretty steep number, but I do believe he will be in consideration. He is listed right now on the depth chart as one of the starting wide receivers. The Jags also added De'Ami Brown, who is great down the tail end of last year for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. DRS, the rookies show up for the LA Chargers tomorrow to training camp. It is a month of football. Big news for another brand of Tigers, that being the Bayou Bengals. Joe Lisi there to celebrate a huge recruiting win for Brian Kelly, and a local one at that. Lamar Brown, the number 1 recruit, according to ESPN. Those rankings differ at each and every spot, Rivals, 24/7, so on and so forth. But regardless of how you shake it, one of the top defensive linemen and defensive tackles in the country commits to LSU. They also have the number 1 wide receiver in the 2026 class in Tristan Keys, for a place known for developing the best at the wide receiver position. Big win yesterday for BK and the Bayou Bengals, DRS.
As Brian Kelly would say, welcome to the family, to one of the best players in the college football, as they hope for. And by the way, I always love recruiting rankings where they literally call you on the phone like, hey, we got your number 1 overall. You commit to Notre Dame this weekend, I'm dropping you to 5. You stay at number 1, we can sell more subscriptions and keep it that way. I love it, man. What a rat race it is on those 5-star, 4-star, number 1 recruiting, depending on which service you use.
It does really depend on the service you're ranking in your class. There is no doubt, though, that Lamar Brown is a very talented prospect looking to take that leap to the next level next year. But we'll talk this year in college football, starting in the SEC next.
Cooper Flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year at Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. A lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with a money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. I might be the new coach in Montreal in 2 weeks. They have a new coach all the time, and they always have, we're playing a new system. They have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. It's a real disaster, but they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
You see that smile? This is a smile when you're talking college football in July on a Friday here on the early line on SportsGrid. DRS, big recruiting win yesterday for LSU. Lamar Brown committing to the Bayou Bengals, one of the best recruits in the country, the best defensive tackle recruit in the country, according to some. That's for next year, 2026. How about year number 4 in 2025 for LSU under Brian Kelly? Win total for the Tigers, 8.5. The over has the juice. To reach the college football playoff, it is a plus 140 price. DRS, only 8 teams around the country have a minus money number to get to the college football playoff. So if teams with a plus money price, even that plus 140 on LSU is the shortest to be one of those at-large teams out of the SEC. Their price to win that conference, 7-1. Their national championship price in the top 10 at 17-1. LSU defensively last year under Blake Baker got better, but still allowed the 3rd most points on average per game within the 16-team SEC. There is no doubt offensively, though, they are going to be stacked. A very talented wide receiver class in the transfer portal. Berrien Brown from Kentucky, Nick Anderson, big play wide receiver from Oklahoma. And most importantly, DRS, Garrett Nussmeier is back, leading LSU at the quarterback spot. He has the 2nd best price to win a Heisman Trophy, only behind Arch Manning entering 2025. Sky-high expectations in Baton Rouge, and frankly, they need to be in year number 4 under Brian Kelly.
No, expectations for when Brian Kelly took over the helm with national championships with an S, not just one or getting there or trying to, which obviously LSU still trying to do. But the one thing that you always love in college football is if you got a veteran at quarterback coming back for you in the fall, it makes things so much easier. Hey, we have 3 guys in the race here. No, you have your one quarterback that you know is going to be your starter, and they will be tested right out of the break against Clemson and Clay Klubnik, who's looking to be an NFL quarterback as well. We talked about it joking around previously before that big game against Florida on September 13th. That's Saturday night in Baton Rouge, but it still is the SEC. But understand this, we still get into playoffs and how it factors in. I just love the fact that you look at the LSU schedule, and in the past, Ben, it used to be tough one at Clemson, tough one at Florida. We got to go on the road to Ole Miss. We play Texas A&M at home, at Alabama. Boy, we have to run the table for a chance to make it into the playoff. Isn't it nice for LSU to be you know what, we're a good football team. Let's just play good football and see where the chips land. Because if we lose to Florida at home and or even Alabama on the road, that's 2 losses. hey, we're still going to probably make the college football playoff. I love that about this. But the expectations are for Brian Kelly and this team not to lose 2 football games. They probably think they can win every single football game on their schedule, and rightfully so. You just get that gauge because we don't have 3 preseason games and say, hey, boy, I like what I see out of this team so far. You hit the ground running at Clemson game number 1. You win that game, the expectations even skyrocket from there.
And DRS, LSU a 3.5-point underdog for that season opener. All credit to BK. The Bayou Bengals have not been shy of opening up their season in a dramatic non-conference game. First 2 years in Baton Rouge against Florida State. Last year against USC in Las Vegas. The issue, they have dropped all 3 of those season openers under Brian Kelly and are a road underdog in the battle of the real Death Valley against a Clemson team that is absolutely stacked entering this year. Again, the Clemson Tigers, 3.5-point favorite at home. Saturday night, August 30th to start off this season. That week 1 slate.
Valley.
Oh, the real, we'll see. We'll have to talk to Joe
Did they
Lisi
get angry between that? I wonder.
I wonder. I would say that when you think Death Valley first and foremost, the broader population probably goes to Tiger Stadium, that in Baton Rouge. But when you touch the rock and you run down the hill at Clemson, many would consider it Death Valley as well. DRS, you look at those SEC championship odds. We got co-favorites in this conference. Texas plus 280, Georgia plus 280, Alabama in year number 2 under Kalen DeBoer, less than a 5-1 number at plus 490. There you see LSU at 7-1. There is no doubt this conference is going to be stacked once again. 3 college football playoff teams from the SEC a year ago. We'll see how many they get into the second year of 12 in 2025.
Yeah, a lot of competitiveness, too, because it doesn't feel like you have a runaway team. Like in the past with Nick Saban, it's like, okay, put them number 1, put Georgia number 2. We'll see where the cards fall at this point. Now you have Texas here. The expectations are, yes, we're in this conference. We're really good. And Arch Manning is our quarterback, and rightfully so, probably the favorite. But then you look down there. That's the old blue bloods, man, always hanging around, right? Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Just the factor on how good you can be. But I just digress back to the original point. It's nice to understand that multiple teams in the SEC can have multiple losses and still make the college football playoff. I love that. I love that.
You saw the 8.5 win total for LSU, the over a slight bit of juice. LSU's a 9-3 team. They're going to have a great shot at an at-large berth to the college football playoff. DRS, the highest win total in the SEC belongs to Texas. It's 9.5. The over is so heavily juiced at nearly -2 bills that they are expected to win 10 games. That not correct. It's 9.5 at over -196, but -310 for the Longhorns to get to the college football playoff. They are national championship co-favorites alongside our reigning champs in the Ohio State Buckeyes. Of course, when you think of Texas, it starts with Arch Manning. Some bright spots last year in Austin. DRS might not agree that Arch Manning should be the Heisman favorite or the favorite to be that number 1 overall pick. I'm still pretty high on his talents. But outside of just Arch, DRS, for me, what really is a staple this year under Steve Sarkisian, defensive side of the football, and Pete Kwiatkowski, who is that defensive coordinator. You've got Colin Simmons back along the defensive line. You've got Anthony Hill Jr., one of the best linebackers in the country, and a veteran safety in Michael Taffy, who is back as well. Texas is loaded defensively and really good offensively as well. No doubt should be in that national championship conversation all year long.
Yes, a couple tough games on the schedule, but here's what I also dislike as well. Like, you're going to have Texas, and let's just say you're a Texas fan, you're excited. You go to Ohio State game number 1. That is awesome. That big Fox noon kickoff. Everybody will be watching at the start college football. Then Texas disappears from the football landscape for over a month. San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston. Don't know why we do this in college football, and it's a shame for the fans where, hey, 3 straight home games. Nobody cares about those ball teams.
More college football next.
That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. Have you said it? Now, the home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at Pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. He's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking into be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
A slight reshuffling in the national championship odds from the last time I checked earlier this week. It is no longer Texas and Ohio State, our reigning national champs, who, of course, squared off in that college football playoff semifinal as co-favorites to win the national title, but Georgia on its way up at 6-1. The Bulldogs DRS, the over-under is 9.5 for Kirby Smart and crew at minus 168. Carson Beck now in Coral Gables in South Florida with Miami. Gunnar Stockton, that presumed starter for UGA. A lot of talent changes year over year. 13 guys for the Dogs drafted in the NFL draft in 2025. Only 2 full-time starters back defensively, but Georgia doesn't restock. They reload. The Dogs still expected to be a college football playoff team. They won the SEC last year, despite not being favored to do so against Texas.
Yeah, sometimes, too, you look at the schedules that these teams make up, and, they're years in advance planned out, because for me, I always like that soft landing. It's fun when you get that kickoff classic like we used to have back in the day in the Meadowlands, like, hey, 2 top teams meet up here, and then you go play some cupcakes. Marshall and Austin Peay to start the season should be easy, but look at that SEC gauntlet, Ben, coming up after that. At Tennessee, home to Alabama, Kentucky at home, at Auburn, Ole Miss at home, Florida neutral site there, at Ole Miss, or at Mississippi State, then you get Texas at home. And it's like, hey, man, good luck. Like, we know Georgia's a good football team, but sometimes you're only as good as the competition you play on every single week on a basis, where the war of attrition starts to set in, where you don't have, okay, we open up against a tough team, a cupcake there, tough team, then a cupcake. And then, of course, they always throw in that November 22nd Charlotte game, which is, hey, you know what? Late in the season, that's a bye week. Let's get some guys healthy before the playoff run. But that is a tough schedule. And also, is Gunnar Stockton up to the task there, being that starting quarterback and stepping into the spotlight this year?
DRS, I don't really think it's all that difficult of a schedule. Yeah, they get Alabama and Texas at home, the 2 other best teams in the SEC, but you are going to play gauntlets in these realigned and expanded conferences each and every year. They are more than likely, at least as of this moment, we'll see what happens by the time we get to late September, heck, even the middle of November. But Georgia in every game right now is going to be projected as the favorite, and every single one. And you don't need to go perfect. You don't need to be 12-0. You don't need to be 11-1 to earn a college football playoff spot any longer. See that in the win total for UGA, 9.5, albeit the over pretty heavily juiced at minus 168. But Georgia's going to have a great chance to get the double-digit wins and back to the college football playoff. DRS, the other team that is favored to reach the CFP out of the SEC, is Kalen DeBoer in Alabama in year number 2 in Tuscaloosa. An uneasy first year. Highlights beating Georgia, but lowlights losing to Oklahoma by 3 scores as a 2-touchdown favorite on the road in Norman. Losing to Vanderbilt for the first time since the mid-'80s. It was the first year post-Nick Saban, and it missed out on the college football playoff and then getting hammered in the ReliaQuest Bowl by Michigan's backups. But Alabama has pretty bright prospects for this upcoming season. One of the best O-lines in the sport, and they will turn over the offensive reins more than likely to Ty Simpson, who takes over for Jalen Milroe. Good news in Tuscaloosa, DRS. Ryan Grubbs, who was that offensive coordinator under DeBoer in Seattle with the Huskies, who spent last year as the OC still in Seattle with the Seahawks, now the offensive coordinator under DeBoer again in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I like their schedule too, and sometimes that's just how it pans out, where you're playing these games and how they line up for you. It wasn't a great season for Alabama because the expectations of the Nick Saban were, oh my God, we lost 1 game. Should we make a move at coach? And then he'd say, okay, be careful what you wish for, and they'd make him the highest paid coach in college football. But understand this, they should beat Florida State to open the season. All right, they got Wisconsin at home to open up. At Georgia, going to be tough. You know that. You know, any road game for the SEC is tough, but you do get LSU at home. For me, this is a favorable schedule for Alabama, which will show us how good a coach DeBoer actually is coming into this year, because what they showed last year just wasn't good enough, even though they had the quarterback that probably should have led you to a little bit more wins, if you can say that. But for me, Alabama's schedule puts them in the college football playoff for me.
No doubt about it. Minus 160 to reach the CFP. DRS, 3 teams, a minus money favored price to get into the college football playoff out of the SEC. In order, it is Texas, Georgia, Alabama, plus prices on LSU, the shortest price of anybody not favored to get to the CFP. 3 teams out of the Big Ten favored to reach the college football playoff as well. It's the 3 teams you see at the top of the conference odds board as well. Ohio State, our reigning national champs, Penn State, and Oregon. Keep an eye on Michigan. A lot of hype around their freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood, but an easy schedule this year in Ann Arbor. Hour number 3 up next.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Get the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh, that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
It'd be like 80 times. It'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.